Um, Welcome to today's deep dive. Today, we're looking at a source from a Denver law firm, Cave Law, that highlights a surprisingly deadly seasonal shift.
Yeah, spring traffic dangers.
Exactly. Our mission for you today is to figure out exactly why the transition out of winter creates this sudden spike in serious road accidents.
Right, and how legal investigators basically have to frantically piece together these tragic puzzles before nature literally erases the evidence.
We usually associate dangerous driving with, January blizzards, right?
Oh, absolutely.
But spring brings its own incredibly sneaky hazards, and it's not just the leftover snow melting.
Right, it's actually what that melting snow reveals. Plus, you have that first real spring rain. It hits the pavement and mixes with all the motor oil and grime that's been quietly baking into the asphalt over the dry winter months.
Which turns the roads into an absolute ice rink.
Exactly, an ice rink.
And not to mention the potholes. I mean, it feels like you need an off-road vehicle just to navigate the broken pavement and loose gravel that suddenly appears out of nowhere.
Yeah, it completely changes how your tires grip the road. And right around March, the city construction projects just roar back to life.
Oh, yeah, they do.
So drivers are suddenly navigating these confusing lane changes and half-finished detour signs.
All while trying to relearn a commute they've been doing on autopilot for months.
Exactly.
And, okay, the autopilot thing is so real. I am totally guilty of zoning out on my winter commute because I know nobody's going to be out walking their dog in 10-degree weather.
Right, and that's exactly where the physical changes clash with human behavior.
Yeah.
The weather warms up, and almost overnight, the sidewalks are packed.
Right.
Kids are walking home from school, swarms of cyclists are back in the neighborhoods, and drivers are completely unprepared for crosswalks to be crowded again.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The cave law source mentions some really specific danger zones where all these elements collide, especially around the Denver area.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is the specific infrastructure involved.
So what makes those spots so risky?
It's the intersections near light rail and freight trains, specifically in places like Denver and Aurora.
Okay.
As the weather warms up, people start taking shortcuts. They cut new, improvised paths on foot or on bikes just to get to transit stations or newly reopened trails.
So they're just darting across the tracks where drivers and train operators aren't expecting them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They might try to rush across, completely misjudging the timing of a massive train. And trains simply cannot stop quickly.
No, they can't.
So when a pedestrian or a driver misjudges that gap, or if a crossing signal happens to fail, the results are almost always fatal.
So when something horrific like that happens, how does the law even begin to untangle who is responsible?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it creates an incredibly complex legal web. And that's largely because of Colorado's comparative fault rules.
Comparative fault.
Yeah, think of comparative fault like a pie chart of blame.
Okay, so the blame basically gets sliced up.
Right. A tragic accident is rarely just one person's fault. The distracted driver might get 60% of the pie. But maybe a city worker missed replacing a broken warning sign.
Oh, so they get 20%.
Exactly. And say the vehicle had faulty brakes, so the manufacturer gets the rest. Multiple parties share the blame.
That sounds like a massive headache to investigate. And the source points out there's a really strict ticking clock on top of all that, right?
Yes. Families grieving a loss generally only have a 2-year window from the date of death to file a wrongful death claim in Colorado.
2 years sounds like a while, but the craziest part of the investigation side is how quickly the physical evidence just vanishes. Lawyers are essentially in a race against nature.
Nature is highly effective at destroying a crime scene.
Yeah.
A single heavy spring rain can completely wash away crucial skid marks on the pavement.
Wow.
Even something as simple as fast-growing spring grass or a blooming tree can suddenly block a sightline. By May, a safe intersection might look completely different than it did on the day of the crash in March.
So how do they fight that? If the road has totally changed, how do they prove what the driver could actually see?
They get incredibly creative. Investigators will pull local school dismissal calendars, train schedules, and city construction permits to perfectly reconstruct the exact moment of a crash.
That is wild.
Yeah, they literally match those specific seasonal shifts to the exact day and time.
So what does this all mean for you? Whether you are driving to work, walking the dog, or biking through your neighborhood, spring absolutely requires a hard reset. You have to ditch the winter autopilot and force yourself to look at your familiar everyday roads with fresh eyes.
This raises an important question to leave you with, too.
Definitely.
If something as entirely natural as a melting snowbank, a sudden rain shower, or simply growing spring grass can completely alter the safety and legal reality of your daily commute.
Yeah.
What other subtle environmental shifts are you completely ignoring as you rush through your routine?